Hello, welcome to another edition of our Tuesday evening live chat where we do a live Q&A each and every Tuesday where I try to take some time and answer your questions. Now, to say that it has been a busy week, particularly in the last 36 hours, would be a vast understatement. Um, we are just getting started with the portal, all levels of college, with regard to NCAA Division III has their World Series going on. Division II, NAIA, Tennessee Wesleyan won the Division I World Series. We have JUCO um, having their World Series in Grand Junction. Blinn lost in the national championship. And I really think that there is a lot of stress that has been going on, and I can tell based on the questions I've been getting asked and the amount of questions I've been getting asked. And so I'm going to address that here tonight. But before we start, I want to share something with you tonight. The Pro Line balls. You hear from me. We've talked to Bill Salento at Wake Forest. We've talked with Penn State. We've talked with college coaches. But here's a travel ball coach that sent this to me, and I sent him out some free product to try. Softballs, by the way. And what we did was we basically wanted to let them try the balls and get them to to kind of give it a try. And let me just bring it up here for you. And here we go. I got the Pro Line balls yesterday, put them to work at practice tonight. Thank you, Coach, for your generosity. These are fantastic quality. Now, the Pro Line ball, I can definitively tell you, both the softball and the baseballs, durable, consistent. You're able to track ball flight. You're able to get thousands of repetitions that are consistent. It's quality, consistent repetitions. That's what the Pro Line ball is all about. So if you are a coach, whether it's a travel ball coach for baseball or softball, a high school coach, a college coach, or a youth coach, and you have machines or you like to use the training balls, whether it be indoors or in case of inclement weather, outdoors, use the code BLUEBOOK when you check out with prolineballs.com. And that will get you your 15% discount. If you're a coach and you'd like to try them out, send me an email or a DM, walter@coachbeede.com, and I'll try and get you some out so that you can use them beforehand and then go ahead and order a whole bunch. Now, tonight's topic is something that a parent summed up very succinctly. And so I thought I would kind of share this with you because I think it's accurate from the perspective of what all parents are feeling. All parents that sometimes feel this. And I think the biggest problem that we have today in youth sports is not always, we talk so much about bad coaching or bad fields or bad administration. But it's not always bad coaching. It's not bad parenting. We hear all about these, and we see some videos. Those are exceptions. They're certainly not the rules. But it's not bad parenting, and most importantly, it's not bad athletes. The biggest problem is really an unclear expectation beginning of the season between all of the above. The youth coaches, the high school coaches, the travel coaches, sometimes college coaches, but they're really not in this discussion. And when we have unclear expectations, we may all be chasing different priorities at the very beginning. And I've gotten so many letters from parents that are asking how to broach this topic. How do I handle this topic? And, the biggest thing to understand is that parents and athletes, they have their kind of their focus and their hopes and their desires. Coaches may have something totally different, whether it's practice schedules, practice routines, training habits. In some cases, someone wants to pitch a certain way, hit a certain way, use certain equipment, et cetera. So that we're getting off to a bad start before we even begin. And parents might think they're signing up for one thing, coaches think they're signing up and coaching for another, and athletes are usually the ones that are caught in the middle. So I thought what I would do um, is a discussion of not only bringing up the various points that parents are bringing up, but also offer you some remedies, because I think that's really important. Um, the biggest thing that we hear from parents is development, development, development. And then you have coaches that are talking about development, development. Travel teams are selling development, development. Um, but where does winning come in? And where does recruiting or opportunities, whether it be for a varsity or college or things of that nature, where does that fit in? And the biggest thing is parents are so overwhelmed and frustrated. And the biggest thing to understand is it's not because coaches don't care. It's not because athletes don't care or parents don't care. It's really because everybody involved cares really deeply, but they care about different reasons, or they have different focal points. And I thought that would be something that I would begin to discuss tonight. And so, if you like this topic, I want to encourage you to please, if you have a question, go ahead and put it in the comments section. I will put my glasses on to be able to read the DMs. I've already received several DMs. And just as a point of reference here, because I was just scratching my head, I'm going to somehow people think I have no hair. I don't know why this is a big topic, and I'm not trying to get sidetracked here, but this is my hair. I do not have any hair plugs. Um, it's gray now, but I do have hair. So it's not part of a shtick. That is my hair, by the way, because I've had numerous people call me out and say, why do I always wear the visor? Why don't you tell people you're bald? I'm not bald, and I like to wear a visor. So there you go. And that's naysayer number one goes down, but I will get to naysayer 2 and 3 before we're done. So, for the most part, most families are struggling because they don't have the focal points with regard to what is the priority of the team, the coach, what should my athlete be focused on. Um, and every family really defines success differently. And that's really the number one topic that we want to cover, is we want to kind of have an idea of how are you defining your um, your success, your athlete's success. And is that going to be something that you need to clarify up front? And I have gone over this several times with parents, especially parents that I'm working with. I'll always say, before any season starts, regardless of the sport, you as a family with your athlete need to sit down and write out for the season, define success. What is your hope for this upcoming season? Now, obviously, if we're talking summer or travel or off season, like a non-high school format, and this is a travel organization, an AAU program, whether it's basketball, soccer, football, baseball, travel baseball. Okay, what is it? What are our goals as a family? But more importantly, what are our goals for our athlete, and what is the student athlete's goals for themselves personally? And what is it that you're trying to make yourself better at, get prepared for? And really, this all depends upon the different ages that we're talking about. If we're talking about youth sports, especially say 10 through 14, let's call it 8 through 14. We have no recruiting. There's nothing to do with recruiting. So that should be issue number one. Number two, nothing to do with exposure. Like we should not be having that at all. But what I want to clarify here is if we're talking 8 through 14, are you concerned with winning? Is winning a priority? Or is it getting better as a team, as a group, and as individuals? Meaning, is there more of a development context and not so much about chasing whether it's championships or trophies? Is this because you want to have this clearly defined? And if you're choosing a team, you need to have that discussion with your coaches or with the team and find out what is the priority. I mean, is your priority as an organization to win at all costs? Meaning, are they going to be shuttling different players in? Are they going to be people sitting on benches for an extended period of time? You have to communicate that as parents. If we're going to look to limit frustration, and I'm going to get to some of the deeper topics, but if we're all going in different directions at 8 through 14, you as parents, now here's the number one thing at 8 through 14 is fun has to be on this piece of paper. Meaning, if your student athlete is not looking forward to participating with their friends or their peers or competing against their friends or their peers, and this is really more of a struggle to get your athletes, is this the right level? Is this the right level of competition? I get a lot of parents that get very angry because they want to be with a team where everybody's uber competitive and everybody's, trying to be 4 for 4 and be the star. That's not really 8 through 14. 8 through 14 is understanding you're going to be paired with different levels of talent for the most part. Now, if you go into rec ball and little league or you go into youth basketball, you have your really good players, and your average players. And if that doesn't fit for you as a family, and you really feel like your athlete has to be surrounded by uber competitive, and you really are going to be a win at all costs, but the coaches aren't that way, and this is not going to be a good fit. You're going to be frustrated. The coach is going to be frustrated. And so now let's talk about the high school ages, the 15 through 18, or really the 14 through 17, 14 through 18. One, are you wanting to keep it local? And are you looking for equal playing time? Are you looking for, coaches that are going to spend more time practicing than they are at tournaments? See, as parents, we sign up for these teams and events, but we really don't know what the coaches or the organizations, sometimes they tell us, they hand us a piece of paper, they send you an email, and then they say, okay, this is who we are. And if you fit that criteria, but really what is wrong with all of youth sports is that the reality is we have an athlete, we have parents, we have coaches. And those three have different personalities, they have different temperaments, they have different goals, they have different destinations, meaning sometimes coaches, we hope they're all doing it for the right reasons. They enjoy teaching and instructing and impacting young student athletes, or they really are trying to pass the baton of knowledge with regard to the sport and the fundamentals of that sport onto athletes. But if we have parents that are either laser focused on equal playing time and practice and development, but yet you have a coach that is laser focused on winning and doing everything he can or they can within, the powers of, playing and winning and competing and just going out full bore for the winning and the rings and the championships and the notoriety and the validation that comes with it. Okay, the parents that are seeking the equality and the playing time and the practice and the development and the training habits, that's not going to be a good mix. And oftentimes, many families will choose the bright lights of the national franchise travel organization, and they want to have that tag national elite prospect triple platinum travel team. And they get all the gear and all this. And, oftentimes many of those franchise teams are just how many checks can we collect, um, and that's really how that works. But let's talk high school for a second. So, before we get, to high school and we're in elementary school and middle school, there's a lot more camaraderie and a lot more blending. There are boys and girls that are playing youth baseball together, in some cases, basketball and other sports. But typically, those younger ages, we're really hoping for fun, fundamentals, and we're really hoping for practice habits, learning, training, and development. And the development is like at the top of the pyramid. We want development. We want structure and training. When we start getting into high school, these coaches are coaching and choosing a team that they want to compete with. They are hired by athletic departments and athletic directors. So there's a certain level of competition threshold that they are expected to maintain. And so this is where the pay to play model begins to interact and interfere, because when you're paying, you're looking for a return on investment. When you're participating, you're at the mercy of who's good enough, who's able to compete, who's able to execute. And we oftentimes don't have the right glasses on. And this is where the youth sports model starts to kind of become a frustrating, tangled web of anger and frustration, and there's an misunderstandings. And so it's really important to get that right. So I know I'm going to get questions. Here they come. And I knew they were going to come. So here we go. The biggest thing is parents are really receiving bad advice or contradictory advice. Um, and I'm going to go there after this, because I get a lot of questions with, okay, I am being told that if my son wants to be a college caliber athlete, that they need to specialize. And so at a very young age, the youth soccer coach or the youth basketball coach, some cases it's hockey, some cases it's baseball. Let's talk about baseball. If you don't play for us in the fall, you won't play for us in the spring. Or if you don't play for us in the summer, you won't play for us in the spring. Uh, and so then parents begin to panic. Well, I guess we're going to have to give up football. I guess we're going to have to give up soccer. So bad advice, bad advice. And so what I want you to understand as parents is we have a very finite window for us as parents to enjoy watching our children participate in athletics from the ages of, say, 6 through 18, where 90%, 90, 9 out of 10 student athletes will play their final games in high school. So let's start to break this down. You're getting advice telling you that you should be doing this as a younger athlete, but when you're older, all this stuff that you were told down here doesn't come to fruition. So what happens? Well, you as a parent just sacrifice some of the biggest moments and memories that you'll ever have the opportunity to enjoy as a parent. So, what we want to do is now let's break it down to youth and then high school. Youth sports between the ages of 6 and 8, all the way up to 14. My goodness, if I could give you one piece of advice over and above getting on the same page as the coaches that will be coaching your children, the next thing is we want to understand the people driving this bus are our children, are our student athletes. Do they have fun like playing other sports? Do they enjoy these activities socially, athletically, competitively? I mean, are they enjoying it? If they are, okay, let's let them play. Let's let them enjoy being a kid, especially 6 through 14. Like, if your expectation is all about creating a competitive world for your athlete at ages 6 through 14, and you try to protect them in this cocoon of, okay, 6U, 7U, 8U, and then you're trying to control the competition, meaning, okay, well, I'm going to play in every single event. Okay, these are the early stages, what leads ultimately to burnout. So 6 through 14 should be all about enjoying being a kid, having some level of fun, having some level of developing passion for the sport. And if I sound like a broken record, it's because the amount of parents that I hear from and I read and I interact with, they get to that high school age of 17 and 18 and they're angry and they're upset because they don't have a rear rewind button. They can't go back in the rear view mirror and say that guy was wrong or that woman was wrong. Okay. So how are they wrong? Because you allowed that to happen. We need to take control back as parents and understand what what was the goal when you start to play a sport. What is the goal each season? What is the goal? Discuss that with your student athlete. And then once you have that written down, and I'm going to create a PDF file from tonight's presentation, and I'm going to put it in the description down below. And you'll be able to get that. It's free. Don't worry about it. I get a lot of people that think this is some sort of, I'm selling things. I'm not selling anything, but I'm going to put a PDF to summarize this whole thing with issue and remedy so that you have that rather than me trying to have you take notes. The next thing is 14 to 18. Now, at these ages, we get all kinds of people trying to tell parents about exposure and showcases and camps and when to start and when to create a video and how to present their social media and all of these things that really have nothing to do with the actual sport or team or season that's happening. Now, in high school, our children are going through so much change. And I really think if we wanted to do a whole nother discussion point, we as adults do not factor in all of the emotional, physical growth that is going on between 14 and 18. Driver's licenses, new friends in high school, peer pressure, relationships, grades, all of these things that are occurring. And oh, by the way, we're trying to tell 14 to 18 that they need to be prepared. They need to be heads up. You got to get your head in the game. We got to get exposure and you got to be successful. And I need statistics and I need video. Holy smokes. 14 through 16, you're basically an eighth grader through a sophomore in high school. And when you're an eighth grader and a sophomore through high school, here's what needs to happen. You need to kind of let the children begin to find their way because unfortunately, the truth is that the vast majority of youth athletes between 6 and 14, when they get to 14 through 16, some of them, a lot of them don't want to participate at the high school level. It doesn't fit them socially. It's not something that they want to deal with. Maybe they are on the fringe of burnout, but they might not have the same intention that we as parents and or that the coaches are trying to get them to have. Meaning maybe they don't want to be laser focused on being a college athlete. Maybe they just want to have fun. Maybe they just want to be a participant at their high school. Maybe this is important to them because it's a community that they've grown up in and they want to be active and they want to kind of take that role on as a high school athlete. The thing that we have to understand is 14 through 16, they're going to start competing with older, bigger. It's a big mindset to get over when you're a 15-year-old freshman and you look across and you see a 17-year-old junior, an 18 or 19-year-old senior, even if they're playing JV, which is great, by the way, they're still going to be facing older athletes, younger and older athletes. And this is where the issue of the travel and the youth athletics, when you do the step-by-step, it catches high school athletes off guard. They weren't prepared for it because they've been so accustomed to just playing against a certain age group. And so it's really important for parents at the high school and youth level to set expectations, set goals, but communicate with your student athlete. Like what are you looking to take away from this season? What are some of your goals? What's some of your hopes? What do you hope to accomplish? How do you want to get better? Is that a priority for you? If you establish this and then you have an open dialogue with the coach. Now, here's the deal. The best time to talk to coaches is before the season starts, not during the season. During the season, you must let your athletes compete and don't get involved. That is for the athlete to discuss directly with the coach. But prior to the season, maybe after a practice, say, Coach, after practice, could I have 5 or 7 minutes of your time? And could I just kind of, and then explain who your athlete is or what you as a family are hoping to gain from the upcoming season. Share that. See if it matches the coach's expectation for your student athlete. And if it doesn't, it's okay to disagree, but you have to convey that to your student athlete. But when you get to high school, JV or varsity, it's about competing and executing to win. And your personal statistics are not going to be part of a coach's singular focus. And I think that needs to be a priority. Mr. Smith, a red flag for any parent at the youth ages of 5 through 10 is when they say they want high caliber athletes, but don't want kids that play multiple sports. Here's what I want. And Mr. Smith, I am deeply appreciative. I converse with a lot of parents during the course of the week. Mr. Smith happens to be one, very talented son. But let's talk about that, digressing real quick. And I'm going to be very cognizant of my time tonight. 5 to 10, let's call it 5 to 12. When you hear a team posting a tryout, we want ultra competitive athletes that have a singular focus, meaning multi-sport athletes need not apply. 5 through 12. Now, as a dad, some of the best moments of my life were watching my sons grow up. Sports was a part of that. And trust me, I get it. But I loved watching my children grow up. Now, I don't want to get into beliefs and I don't want to get into personal beliefs, but 5 through 12, we're talking Santa, Tooth Fairy, Halloween, we're talking Easter Bunny, we're talking, holidays, we're talking first grades, the excitement of summer vacation, which we're on the cusp of. And do you really want to spend those 7 years, 5 through 12, under the dictatorship of some adult coach saying to you, you shouldn't allow your children to play multiple sports? Do you know the odds of your child becoming a professional athlete or getting an athletic scholarship are so minute that we're going to be willing, 90 to 95% of us are going to be willing to exchange this mindset, authoritative mindset, where we're going to have no other sports and we're just going to play one sport. We're going to focus and all we want to do is win, and we want to win trophies, and we want to go 52-3, and we just want to have blinders on. And then you wake up at 14 and your son or daughter comes to you and say, this isn't any fun and I don't enjoy it, and you're too into it, and I don't like people yelling, and it's just not for me because of all the other stresses that they're going through in life. Be aware the frustration that parents feel when they're in high school is they begin to see the light of reality. And the light of reality is that of, I don't think my student athlete's going to play in college, at least not Division I athletics. And so therefore, we made a deal with the devil at 5 to say that we were going to be all in on travel soccer or basketball or football or baseball, and in some cases hockey and lacrosse. And then you figure out we're not going D1. Well, we're going to go to D3. Okay, well, first of all, D3 is a heck of a level. And if your child ends up participating in college, any level, any division of college, they are really good. Really, really good. Next. Thank you so much. I deeply appreciate that, and I am really grateful that I get to answer these questions for parents. One of the things that I want parents to understand is that I summarize all your points and then I bring it. So I'm going to go now to the college because we're in the portal time and everybody sends me questions about recruiting, and I talk to a lot of parents and they're very anxious and they're very frustrated. And I'm gonna break this recruiting timeline to your athlete's age because I think it's important. The biggest thing is I want you as a parent, and I'm gonna start at 10 through 15. I want you to do one thing. I want you to print just a one-page calendar that shows what you really want to accomplish over the next 5 years with your athlete. Like, what is it you're trying to achieve? Is it all of those things? And one of the things that I want you to understand during this time period is you want your athletes to explore multiple positions within the sport that they play. I had a parent, and boy, oh boy, I want to preface this by saying in the last 36 hours, I'm not trying to be a braggart, I'm just trying to tell you what I do. I've talked with over 70 coaches. I keep a journal. Every coach will say to me, I'm really looking for a versatile athlete. And I'll say, okay, well, you need a guy that can play the infield, maybe play the outfield, or a pitcher that can play the outfield. Yeah, I need some versatility. This roster cap wall is killing me. I need guys that might be two-way guys. Maybe they're pitchers and hitters. That's not what you're being told at the younger ages. And so when you're starting to map out what your long-term goals are as a parent, I always encourage parents that I work with to keep a journal. Keep it personal, but discuss it with your athlete, obviously. You don't need to show it to coaches, but okay, what are we trying to get here between the ages of 10 and 15? Let's try multiple positions. Let's see the sport from different perspectives. So if you're a pitcher and a ground ball's hit to a shortstop and he makes an error, you're going to have some empathy. Like, I know that's hard position to play. Like, I've played that, and that was a tough play. But if you don't, then you're kicking the dirt and you're like, how does he miss that ball? It should be routine. It's not easy to be an athlete in the moment. And errors are unscripted. Like, you cannot control mentally or physical errors. Mental, you can control within a certain degree of reason, but physical, they're just going to happen. They're going to happen. It's a part of sports. So 10 through 15, what are you trying to accomplish? Are you trying to keep it fun? Are you trying to be fundamentals? Are you trying to learn multiple positions? Are you just trying to learn drills and routines that will help shape the future of your student athlete? If you're at the high school level, what I really want you to understand is we want to have a calendar for each year for your student athlete. Each year in high school, do not leave this to the summer coaches or the winter practices. You have to kind of take control of this back. Okay, freshman year, what's our goal? Okay, it could be a weight or strength issue. It could be, I might want to participate in these types of events or find programs that participate in these types of events. I don't think it should include recruiting until we'll get to that in your junior year. But every year, map out different goals. And at the end of each year, when you complete your freshman year, okay, what did we accomplish? And check off everything that you wrote down, but circle the things that you didn't get to. Why didn't you get to them? What was missing? What could have been done better? If we do this freshman year, like rising eighth grade into freshman year, rising sophomore year coming out of your freshman year, and then obviously into the rising junior year. And at that point, okay, now we're going to discuss and talk about recruiting. But these goals, you want to begin to write these down. And if you feel that they are important, before the start of each season, whether it's with your travel organization or your school program. Have a discussion with the coach. See, here's the deal. Coaches will make themselves available in the beginning of the year, but they don't want you to engage with stuff during the season, trying to pick apart lineups and rosters and coaching decisions. That's not part of this deal. In the beginning of the year, if you want to say, where do you see my student athlete? How does he fit within your program? How do you see what types of positions do you see him being able to play? Are there areas that he should focus on and maybe work on during the season and then in the off season? Get that at the beginning of the season and then measure the results at the end of the season. Did the two kind of blend together? Because here's what happens. You don't talk to the coaches. You don't write anything down. You think the coach is going to develop, but the coach is really focused on winning. You think the coach is going to give your student athlete a chance, but he doesn't think your son can play a certain position that you think your son or you think your student athlete can play. You didn't address it in the beginning of the year. Friction begins to occur during the season. The end of the year, you're a powder keg, and now you're all upset because now what do? Okay, well, we need to eliminate and alleviate all of this complexity and confrontation. And so if you did this in the beginning of the year, the coach would be able to say, I see your student athlete practice every day. Doesn't have the foot speed to play shortstop or second base. I feel he's a better fit for us at third, but we're going to have him get work at all three infield positions or even all four with first base so that he can see and be versatile and be considered an infielder rather just a shortstop or a third baseman. Now you have some clarity as a parent and you're not agitated because he's not getting any reps at shortstop. Same thing in the outfield. If your student athlete doesn't have foot speed, but he has a really good bat and you think he's going to be a great center fielder or right fielder, and the coach says he's a really good outfielder, but he doesn't have the foot speed to play center or right. And I've talked to your student athlete or your son or daughter, and we've discussed at the next level, he's going to be a first baseman or a left fielder or possibly a third baseman. So we're going to rotate. Okay, now this doesn't hit you off guard when your student athlete's not playing center field or right field. They're playing a lot of left field. We're communicating. And I think that's important. Now, the parent question here. Okay. Thank you so much. I wish I had your first name. Listening to every podcast since 2002. I'm gonna digress here real quickly because I know I don't want to go over 60 minutes. I get a lot of naysayer number two. Naysayer one said it wasn't my real hair. They thought it was a prop. It's not a prop. Naysayer number two. I started this during COVID. I started this in 2020. And I started this on the Clubhouse platform, went to X, formerly known as Twitter. From Clubhouse, I went to Spaces. From Spaces, I went to YouTube. And from YouTube, I've gone on to Instagram Live, Facebook Live. And it all started because the parents said, now that we have this and there's no travel ball and teams can't play, how does my student athlete get better? And it caught me off guard because I was like, what do you mean? You go out in the backyard, you play catch with your buddies, you play wall ball. I do this because I try to help parents have an alternative voice. It's as simple as that. I am 63 years old. My children are 35 and 33. I have a certain level of care. I did not grow up in an era where everything was put $1 in my pocket for me to tell you my opinion or my thoughts. We have become an industry that really wants to become an authoritarian voice at the top of a mountain, and we want to fight everybody that wants to challenge us at the top of the mountain, whether it's a hitting instructor, a pitching, a velo instructor, a fielding instructor, any catching instructor. All we are adults. Some of us, I'd like to think we're adults that are trying to share and give back and disseminate information. None of us created the game. None of us invented the game. None of us are going to get hired by the Yankees or the Red Sox or the Dodgers or what have you. We're all here to try and help parents that are living there now. And I'm going to save villain number 3 for the very end. But thank you so much for your kind words. Now, this last point that I really want to emphasize this is this will be my second to last point. I want you to understand you must, as parents, you must protect your student athletes' love of athletics for as long as you can, because here's what nobody tells you is that your athletes are going to be former players for many decades. You know, we don't talk about this enough. Your athlete has a finite window of living, breathing, enjoying, and embracing being a student athlete and all that goes with it. Socially, interaction, adults, mentors, coaches, people, parents, their peer groups. Is it 10 years? Is it 16 years? I don't know, but that is a small period of time when compared with a lifetime. So, parents, you must protect from 6 to 14, and then 14 from 18 or 14 to 23. You must foster, nurture, protect their simple love and passion to participate in sports. It's healthy. It teaches so many life lessons. Wins and losses, statistics, results. You know what you remember? Moments. Those moments become iconic memories of people, friends, places. Protect that. Aggressively protect that. And if anyone is trying to take that away from your athlete, you need to step in and you need to draw a line. And it doesn't have to be loud. It doesn't have to be anger. It just has to be, I think there's a issue. We've crossed a boundary and there is a certain threshold where these are children, these are teenagers at the oldest when we get to high school. They're young adults in college, but they're children and then they're teenagers. In my opinion, as a 63-year-old, they're kids. Don't cross that threshold. Language, actions, demonstrative actions, screaming at umpires, things like that. Protect, 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 protect. For parents, I want you to understand, pick if you're at the high school level. I had a question come up from a parent, and their student athlete was spending a lot of time in the room, a lot of time away from the dinner table. And they were like, Coach, can you just give us something that we can do to help in this case, it was their daughter. And she is a lacrosse player. And the coach had a huge tantrum and singled out this particular student athlete. I have no idea about the exchange because I wasn't there and I don't know the situation, so I'm not going to pass judgment. But this is a junior, soon to be senior next year. We're at June here in New England. High schools are wrapping up their spring sports. And I said, here's what you want to do. Whether it's with friends of hers or you, what you want to do is pick an activity within the game and just make it a fun activity. Has nothing to do with recruiting. Has nothing to do with video. Don't video. Has nothing to do with results or statistics. Create a game. I know in baseball, I used to take the boys out in the backyard and I would do things like you had to catch 10 pop-ups in a row. I'd put them on their backs and I'd throw the ball up in the air and I'd say, go. They have to find the ball. They'd have to catch it 10 times in a row without dropping it. The purpose wasn't to teach them how to catch a fly ball. The purpose was to try to deflect and keep their minds off of a struggle or off of some kind of other issue that might have been bothering them. Just getting them moving and outside of their room. And in today's world, pick a topic that has nothing to do with recruiting, nothing to do with their season. And maybe it's just going out in the backyard and shooting hoops. if you have a local hoop in your backyard or your driveway, or go to a ballpark and find a hoop. It could be, if you're a lacrosse player, in this case, I told her to go out to the backyard. They had a wall that they could throw the ball off of. And, mom and daughter just go out back and just, throw the ball against the wall, catch it, and just talk, decompress. Try to do that with your student athlete more, less around the table, because it feels like you got a spotlight on your hat and you're asking questions. It's like an inquiry. Go outside, do something, shoot some hoops, shoot soccer balls into a net, or do something, but get them to kind of decompress a little bit. That's the best advice I can have there. The next thing I want to do is, I really want you to understand um, a monthly check-in. Like, this is another thing I'm very big with. I always try to get parents to understand, don't start a season and end a season and not have any dialogue in between. I'm a big fan of once a week, just checking in. And sometimes I would go up to the bedrooms of the boys, or sometimes it would be at friendlies, or we were out and about. Hey, how do you think your season's going? What is the team thinking? Like, what are the coaches thinking? How do you think everything's going? Is there anything that you're, upset about? Or is there anything hoping to do differently? Or what outcome, or what type of engagement would you have done differently? Just to check in. Nothing heavy, nothing about recruiting, nothing about expectation, just checking in and having a dialogue with your athlete. That will do so much. And I really think this is for the younger children, older children. Again, as simplistic as this might sound, are we having fun? Are you enjoying it? Anything that you'd like to be doing more of or less of? Is there something that bothers you, practice or playing or position wise? Or is there anything aggravating you? Anything bothering you physically? Check in, because sometimes in our busy, busy lives, and we're so into the social media and trying to keep up, and we're not really checking in. When I say we are always checking people out or checking things out, we don't check in enough with our athletes. And I think that's something that we really need to really refocus and reprioritize. And I think if we do that with all ages, and really make sure that, I call it checking the tire pressure. When you go away and, if you're at the beach and you're blowing up rafts and you want to go float in the ocean or the pool, it's almost the pool season in New England. Although we've had 40 degrees in late May. So, hold off on the bathing suits just yet. But, when you go up and you try to blow that float up, and all of a sudden too much, it blows up and you don't get to use it. But if you fill it just right, it's going to let you sit in it and ride and float and enjoy the water and the sun and all that goes with it. Same thing with your student athletes. Too much, I hate my hat like that. Too much pressure, kids are going to explode. Make sure you check the tire pressure. Check the tire pressure. I hate to say it that way, but I really want it to be like that. Right. And Bradley just summed this up. And this is going to be my ending point. I'm going to tease it here. We need to have a relationship somewhere in this dynamic of youth sports. And here I go on my little rant before we close up. We have let outsiders determine what we should never allow anybody to take from us. As parents, those children, they're our blood. They are for me, I get a little emotional. They were my existence. Father died when I was young. Mother was gone when I was young. My only blood were Kyle and Tyler Beede. And the world did not revolve around baseball or basketball or football or soccer or, hockey or, we had relationships and we did stuff. We had rituals. We did Friday night chocolate chip cookie and what we did with sugar packet football, where you flick the the sugar packet, and if it hangs off the edge of the table, that's a touchdown. And then you took the sugar packet and you kicked the field goal. You know, you had to put your fingers up. We had rituals. And, you know, that was my way of checking in, but engaging with my children way over and above sports. I didn't handle everything perfectly. But before we get into this mind trap of high school, because here's what happens. When you get to high school, you look back on all your youth sports, and then your children, when they're in high school, look back at younger players playing, and so they're having fun, and I remember those days. And then you get to high school and things get really serious, and you think, oh my gosh, this is so unbelievable. The level of competition here is so unbelievable. And then you go to college, and then when you're in college, you come back and you watch high school. I will promise you, one does not look like the other. And all three stages, college, high school, high school travel, youth travel, they all look different. They all feel different. We can't go back and touch them. You as a parent might want to go back and touch the 12-year-old version of your child. You won't be able to. So we shouldn't let people tell us what we should be doing, and most importantly, what we shouldn't be doing within reason. I'm not saying that all advice is bad advice, but recognize it's a time period in your life as a parent to have a relationship. You are under the same roof for essentially, let's call it 19 years. I get it. College, they come home in the summer, but trust me when I tell you, when they go to college, it's not long after that they're living with the roommate. We got a girlfriend, and oh boy, we're 24, 25, and we're working, and we don't see them anymore. And we need to protect our relationships with our children. And we need to recognize that it's going to go by so quickly, and that's how I'm going to be ending my discussion tonight. The last one I really want to end on, as far as the points. You have a 5-minute debrief every single week, a weekly debriefing. And I kind of touched on this a little bit, but the weekly debriefing should be parents and children. It shouldn't include your coaches. It should just be between parents and athletes, mom and dad, siblings, just a debriefing. Like, okay, what went well this week? What didn't go well this week? What could we have done better? What should we have done better? A debriefing. I want you to kind of the journal, and your athletes might want to keep a journal. And that's a way of keeping things organized so you don't lose sight or lose track. And I think it's really important for parents to understand that last point of debriefing. It can be fun. Play Monopoly and just talk and get, kind of figure out a way to make it so your children know they have skin in the game. Because look, you drive them to the events for the most part. You're the one choosing the teams and the programs and how much money you're going to pay and what equipment you're going to buy, and all of this type of stuff that you're dealing with. And they just go along for the ride, no pun intended. But make sure you're keeping them abreast. Like, you're talking to them like, hey, man, you're part of this. This is for you. This isn't for me as a dad. I got old gray hair. And if you do that, I think your entire processes will be much better. Let's see here. So one of the things that, and our 8U team wants to play fall season because we're moving up to player pitch and don't want to look bad. I said, so what? Other teams will go through that and want my son. I want my son to be an athlete. Amen. So here's it. I'm going to squeak this in real quick. I was a really big baseball guy. I mean, I was a college baseball coach when my boys were really young, and I was intense. as a college coach. And my sons both played T-ball. And a lot of parents would say, I don't want my son to hit off a tee. He can hit live pitching. We go to the backyard and he doesn't need a tee. An upbeat step, the little boy, a little girl would step up with a big regulation bat. And, the coach is trying to throw them the ball. And after the second swing and miss, you can see the athlete turn red and they bang the plate. And I used to always say to the dads, hey, my boys are going to use the tee. Because if we use the tee, they learn that eye-hand coordination, they put the ball in play, the fielders benefit because they're action, and everybody learns if we put the ball in play. And then, so that was that one thing, and everybody, oh, you're babying your boys. Then in Little League, in our league in Auburn, Massachusetts, it was 9 through 12. Little League, they had a draft 9 through 12. Neither of my boys played Little League at 9 years old. I kept them down in minor leagues. Now, both my boys, they were capable of playing Little League. Why are you babying your kids? You keep doing this, babying your kids. Because I wanted them to experience success. I didn't want them to go to 9 to 12 and feel intimidated. And I make the point to say this because we're in such a rush to make our children be better or to be equal to, instead of just letting them grow and learn and enjoy. Like, we don't have to try to ultra challenge these young children. And even so, where my youngest son played Little League, they changed the birth date from, I think it was April 1st to May 31st. And it gave, if you wanted to, when you were 12, you could either elect to go play 13 through 15 or stay down in Little League for another year. My son did not need another year in Little League. But what he did need was to protect his arm. He had a great group of friends that were in that age group, and he wanted to stay down and play with his buddies. That made sense. And he stayed down and played. Did that help or alter or deter his development? No. So try to avoid panic from outsiders. You kind of have an idea who your son or daughter is, and it's okay to say no. I promise you it's okay. Now, this final few minutes, I want to share something with you that not enough people hear. And if you've made it this far, please find your way to the YouTube channel, engage with the video, thumbs up, subscribe, please. I would really appreciate it. I had a mom and dad corner me at a ball field recently, and they had tears in their eyes, and the high school season had just wrapped up. The high school team did not make the state tournament. And they're crying, and I'm like, holy cow, did I do something? What happened? And they came up to me and they said, Walter, you prepared us for this, but we weren't prepared enough. And I said, prepared for? And they said, well, this is PJ's last game. He's not going to play in college. He's made that decision. And we're going to miss going to the games, and we're going to miss watching him play. And it didn't occur to me that nobody ever talks about how to prepare for that last game. We don't know when the last game is going to be. We think we know. We think we're going to have an athlete go play in college, but we don't know. Is the athlete going to play beyond college? Is he going to get to play, or is she going to get to play at all in college? When's the last time that we as parents really get to watch our children as a child? And I'm going to even go up through the age of 23. Now, fortunately for me, my youngest son is 33. He's still playing, but he's at the tail end, and it's coming. And in the business of baseball, when they tell you it's over, for the most part, it's over. And you have to think back to the little boy or girl that played baseball at 5 or soccer at 5 or tried to play ice hockey and could barely skate. Think about them sleeping in their uniform, or that excitement before a game, or the disappointment when the weather turned ugly and there wouldn't be a game. Parents, we need to be really aware and understanding and take control back of these moments that belong to us, to you. They don't belong to travel organizations at those really, really young ages, 5 through 14. They don't belong to them. They belong to you as parents. And so, what I want you to understand is when we're talking about recruiting and transfer portal and name, image, and likeness, that's only going to apply to 2%, 2% of high school athletes. 2%. So 98% are never going to deal with name, image, and likeness. Now, NCAA athletes, they deal with the portal. I get it. But they shouldn't for the most part. So if we as parents begin to embrace and understand what we have in front of us, the blessings that we have in front of us, health, happiness, opportunity, a competitive environment for our children to learn how to compete, how to win gracefully, how to lose gracefully, and how to take those skill sets, both mentally and physically, and transfer them into becoming a spouse, a parent, a productive member of a community. That's what this is all about. Nobody prepares you for the end, the last game. And to be honest with you, it's gut wrenching. It's gut wrenching. And until you go through it and you're on the backside of it, you don't understand. I shouldn't have let that guy do that to my child. I certainly should not have been all in 12 months a year guru that approached me telling me what was right for my child. This topic is really beginning to mature to a point where I see so much anger in youth sports that manifests itself over a period of between 8 to 15, and every parent trying to jockey for position for high school athletics and prepare for high school athletics. And we're trying to prepare because I want my athlete to be the best version they're capable of being. Are you checking in with your athlete? Are you checking that pressure? Are you keeping a journal? Are you doing all that stuff? Because that is a powder keg that ultimately explodes, or more importantly, implodes, and sometimes not at the right time. And sometimes we don't see it until it's too late. So, really take a step back, understand the role that sports play in our children's lives, appreciate what's in your windshield, because when it's in the rear view, you can't go back and touch that. That ship has sailed. And while you may be able to watch it on a video, you may be able to hear the voices of innocence when you hear your child's voice when they were 6 through 14, and now you're looking at a woman or a man. You can't go back and hug your child at that age. You really need to understand that the college athletics are going to be there if your student athlete wants it bad enough. You have the ability to gain knowledge now in the world that we live in and really surround yourself with good information, information that will make your student athlete a better person, not just a better athlete. Thank you again for joining me on Tuesday. I really appreciate all of the questions that seem to really be coming in more and more each and every week. I didn't want this week to be all about transfer portal. I didn't want this week to be all about, you know, name, image, and likeness and all the things that we get so wound up in. We'll get to that next week. I will leave you with this statistic. As of today, 5,500 athletes are in the baseball NCAA transfer portal. 65% of that group, which I believe will be over 6,500, will not find new homes, and they will have played their last game. Will they look back and say, I would have, I should have, I could have, or will they look back and say, I had a heck of a ride. I had a lot of fun. If you found this topic tonight, I really want you to engage, tell me, share with me your thoughts, your feelings, your perspective. Drop a comment. really try to share the channel with others that you feel may benefit from it. It's really important that we have these kind of dialogues every once in a while to get back to what matters, and that is understanding and having an awareness that this is a brief period of time for you as parents. And if I, in any way possible, can help make it more enjoyable, more informative, fantastic. I'm happy to help. I help boys that I don't know, that I've never met. I've helped parents I don't know, I've never met. I answer questions. I point them in the right direction. I don't do that because they put a quarter in my jukebox. I just do it because I think it's the right thing to do. For 40 years. And naysayer number 3, 40 years. I'm 63. I was done playing professional baseball, and I became a varsity high school baseball coach at 22. And then from varsity baseball, I became a college head coach. And from a college head coach, I focused on being a dad. That is my why. So, cynic number 3. When people talk, sometimes it's just to share ideas, to share information. It's just to share. It's like a tribe. We're parents, we're adults, we're men and women who oversee children. Stop being so cynical. It's okay. It doesn't matter to me. I'm 63, whatever. But stop being so cynical. Adults are going to worry about children. That's never going to change throughout the history of the world. It's not going to change today. It's certainly not going to change long after I'm gone. So let's try to have a more positive approach, a more positive interaction. Let's try to have some common decency, some common courtesy. Like, I get it. When you send me those comments, it's just between me and you. It's fine. And yeah, sometimes I take them a little sideways, like with the hair and all this other stuff. But these topics, they're just to answer the majority of the questions that come in each and every week. And I thought this was a week to kind of share this type of topic with parents. Share the channel with others. Please subscribe. It's free. All of my videos, for the most part, I have over 1,600 videos. 1,600 videos. Well over 1,200 are free. College coaches, trainers, strength trainers, nutrition, mental development, Tamara Seaman, Tommy Moffitt, Eric Cressy, all the college coaches, so that you as parents are able to gather information and provide a certain level of quality experience and opportunities and options for your student athlete. Simple, very, very simple. So until next week, I just want to say thank you to Baron and Trevor. Thank you, Trevor. Always aloha. Someday I'm going to get to Hawaii, but aloha to the 50th state and the nation. I appreciate your inside info on these topics. I have a 14-year-old going into his freshman year, and all of your videos have helped me over the years. Well, I thank you, Mr. Rips, Retail Rips. That's why I do it. So if I'm helping a family or a couple of families, phenomenal, phenomenal. If you've ever read any of my social media posts, there's no bravado. It's just like somebody asks a question, I answer a question. Somebody wants to get upset and argumentative and try to create a scene. Yeah, I don't get involved in that. My life's too short. My runway on the front side is getting smaller and smaller. I don't want to worry about that stuff. So thank you to all of you. Share this video, share it, comment on it, engage with it. Next week, we will talk transfer portal. This week, we're going to be talking to another college coach. We're going to be talking to Jeremy Fouts tomorrow night. A lot of parents love the process. The process really allows us to go a little bit deeper into different segments. So join us on the process. In your ProLine balls, make sure you use Blue Book at prolineballs.com. A lot of coaches love them. You should too. Till next week, thank you very much and have a great week in baseball.